everyone, welcome back. BD Preps Podcast episode 24. We are recapping an exciting week 8 of action. Doing some different stuff today. We're going to be looking at some playoff projections. Looking at how some local teams kind of stack up in the rankings right now. Kind of looking ahead to see how how some teams on the bubble can get in, where some of the top teams kind of stand in their division. So that's coming up for you this week. And then also, as always, we're looking at our week 9 rankings, going through previews, and then obviously predictions for week 9. But Keenan, week 8 in the books, coming down the home stretch here of league play. Again, it seems like, I feel like we say this every week, but it seems like we just started the season like a month ago, and now we're almost here to the finish line. So yeah, man, what have you thought of the season so far? Week 8, we're heading here to the end, or to the last couple of weeks here, man.
Yeah. First off, congratulations on getting those beautiful braces off.
Yeah, there we go.
Got that beautiful smile on you now for Gus Morse.
Yeah.
But no, it's exciting. We kind of figured out early on as the games are going on that this was going to be an exciting year, and it certainly has lived up to the case. This past week was no different, obviously. But these league races, and obviously we'll get to it later on in the episode. These league races are coming down the wire just like we expected them to. So fun week, fun season so far.
Yeah, man, you've had 2 pretty exciting first years in the beat here. Again, last year, like you said, everything kind of came down to that final week, and it's looking like things are kind of shaping up that way this year again too. So you've definitely been spoiled here over the first couple of weeks. But on to our week 8 recap. I'm going to start with our game of the week. A game that was a game between two of our top 5 teams, Windsor and Rancho Cotati. Obviously, all the eyes were on Rancho Cotati's injury status, with quarterback Jacob Pruitt dealing with a sprained ankle, and he did not suit up, and it was not close. I think that's kind of what we had talked about, in our previews, the week prior. If Jake didn't suit up, probably wouldn't have been much of a game, and that's kind of what happened. But Windsor 35, Rancho Cotati 7. Keenan, you were there. Take us through it.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it is one of those games where the final score doesn't really dictate how the game really went. I'll be completely honest with you, because it was incredibly close through 2.5 quarters, I would say, through like midway through the third. It was 14-7. Windsor scored early on, and then it was a 7-0 stalemate until 21 seconds left before the half, when Windsor scored again to go up 14-0. Rancho definitely had a incredible, pretty darn good game plan, which was basically to chew as much clock as possible. And it worked, and they did it. They in the first half, they just completely, ran the ball. Gio Ortiz had another crazy high volume game. 23 carries for 137 yards and 1 TD. That TD, which was the lone score of Rancho's game, as you saw there, came right after halftime to make the score 14-7, and then it stayed 14-7 until midway through the third or whatever, because Windsor executed a pretty flawless drive to go up 21-7. That would go until the end of the third, and then 2 touchdowns in the fourth for Windsor, including a pick 6 from Hayden Anderson, would ultimately do the damage for sure. But Rancho came out in a brand new formation, different look, considering that a lot of their starters were out, including Jacob Pruitt, who wasn't cleared from that ankle injury a couple weeks ago, and Potu Hale, who we now know is out for an extended period of time, as you mentioned last week. So they had to try something different, and it's one of those things you never really count out Coach Gary Cotaling and his coaching staff. They are a very, very solid coaching staff, one of the best around the area. So they're going to come with a game plan, and they did, and Windsor wasn't ready for it. DJ Sexton told me that they planned as if Rancho was going to play Pruitt, so they weren't expecting that at all. But at the end of the day, Windsor's talent won the day, and their skilled players showed out when they needed to. Judson Anderson, another pretty efficient day, through the air, 16 to 25, 202 yards, 3 touchdowns, also 51 yards rushing. Hayden Anderson, 8 receptions, 121 receiving yards. That's his highest, Gus. Highest receiving game yardage wise since Escalon opening week, which is weird for me to say, but it is.
No, I mean we had talked about his kind of slow start to the year at this point, so it's good to kind of see him, getting up again, especially here coming into these crucial couple of games going down the stretch.
Yeah, Joseph Campbell, 2 receptions, 31 yards, 2 touchdowns. Great stat line from him. I'm sure he's very happy with that. But yeah, it was definitely a depleted Rancho squad for sure. They did give it their all. We knew they were going to fight. At the end of the day, I think the numbers and the skill players proved critical, and that's what allowed Windsor to obviously pull away. Windsor was able to adjust on the fly. They used Judson a lot more in the second half, just running the ball. So, Windsor picked up the big win. Regardless, I mean, this was a 2 versus 3 in terms of rankings. It was a 2 versus 3 team. So, I mean, based on strength of schedule, stuff like that, that's going to certainly help. So, Windsor comes up with a big win.
So I'm curious. I mean, how do we feel about Windsor at this point of the year? Just because, again, they were our, number 1 preseason team, super hyped, obviously, all that talent coming back from last year's team, kind of not the start they wanted, a loss and a tie, granted to good teams. And now, they rattle off 6 in a row, again, maybe not against the toughest of teams, kind of after those first, that really tough opening stretch, but again, a very good win here over Rancho, but it kind of sounds like it took them a half to really again, they were up 14-0 and then separated, kind of pulled away late, but I don't know. I mean, how are we kind of feeling about Windsor at this point of the year? I mean, they have, I think 2 more weeks until the Newman game, obviously, that's our big game here, but I think I said it, a week or so ago, I'm like, if Newman and Windsor play, right now, I think Newman wins. And I don't know, after this result, it's like, obviously, very good win, but like you said, kind of a close game. And I don't know, does that, do we still think that might, prediction might hold up at this point?
Well, here's the thing, and DJ told me this too. I think Windsor needs to still play a complete game, like a whole complete game, which is hard for me to say considering that it's now week 8, whatever it is into the season.
Yeah.
But I mean, they still need to play a complete game where they start well, finish well, all 4 quarters. It seems like in these last couple weeks, they've either started hot or started cold, and then opposite on the other side. I think they're getting close to playing that complete game. I mean, they've, like you said, they've had some games on the schedule, where like against Port Eureka, for example, where they played their starters sat their starters or whatever. So
and then same thing in the Santa Rosa game too.
So it's kind of like those circumstances aren't helping them at all.
Right.
But come these next couple weeks, obviously leading up to the Newman game, and then obviously in the playoffs after that, there's no margin for error. You got to play the full 48 minutes. So I think that's the biggest issue for Windsor right now. I think they're almost there. I think they're going to get there. They do have some favorable matchups in the next couple weeks leading up to Newman, so hopefully they can turn it around. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Gus, I know you watched them earlier on in the season, but they still, have all that talent.
For sure. No, and again, we're not discounting Windsor at all. Again, they're still our number 2 team in our rankings. They're still, a top 2 team right now in NCS Division 2. We just thought, I think that, again, with all the talent that they had coming back, we thought that they were going to be world beaters this year. And again, not to say that they, that they haven't been impressive, but again, opening season loss to Escalon, and Escalon's a very, very good team. They're the top ranked, small school team in the state. And then the weird tie against Campolindo, and Campolindo has actually shown a lot of fight and proved that they're probably a playoff team in Division 1. So nothing against those results, and then again also beating Dublin pretty good, and the Ukiah win as well. Shutting them out. Ukaia's played really well since then as well. So again, we're not discrediting Windsor at all, but I think that maybe this is a curse of our own expectations on them, but we kind of thought that they would be so much better. And again, they have all this talent, and it's maybe like they just have to kind of, like you said, put together a full game and see what that really looks like kind of, here in the last couple of games. And like you said too, Montgomery this week, Annalee next week before the Newman game. So a couple games to really kind of see if you can like flesh out all those, all the issues, get the team focused, and probably get a couple of wins on the way and some, momentum builder. So we'll see how it plays out. And again, we both think that they're going to have a deep playoff run as well. And then, but again, it's I'd say, when you look at these top two teams, they're, in the area, Newman and Windsor, it still seems like Newman has the advantage here by, I don't know, maybe ahead, or something like, not a huge advantage, but I think it's pretty clear that Newman is still the number one team in the area right now.
Yeah, it's super close. I think it's a lot closer than people think, considering that Newman is obviously undefeated. They haven't well, I guess they have been tested. I guess Vintage was a huge
test.
But then again, but obviously Newman is absolutely rolling, and we'll talk about them in a minute. I do kind of want to talk about Gus. It seemed like, obviously I was at the game of the week. But if there was a 1A, 1B, then this would be it.
I might have had the finish of the week.
I know.
Finish of the year. Finish of the year, maybe, honestly. Switching gears over to my game. Huge VVAL matchup, Casa Grande Vintage. I think I had some of the pregame, writing I had done. I think Casa was like 1-4 against Vintage, like all time, like in the VVAL, and they had won a couple years ago and then split the league title and all this different stuff. So big game, especially coming to this one again. This is like a 4-team race in the VVAL, and Casa Grande, pulls out a miraculous 28-22 win. Maybe one of the craziest finishes I've ever seen. No time left on the, last play of the game, game tied at 22. Vintage at midfield, looking for some like last ditch Hail Mary or something. And then Casa Grande swarms Vintage's quarterback. I think it's Blake Porter. Franco Bernardini. Again, pronunciation is for sure a weakness of this pod, but I think I got that right.
Great name though, fantastic.
Oh yeah, no. Got to Porter as he was kind of scrambling, looking for a receiver. Knocks the ball loose. It takes one hop, and junior lineman Marcus Sierra picks it up on the run, takes off 40 yards. The place is going nuts. Runs into the end zone. He gets a great block from the guy who I thought had actually jarred it loose, Marco Novoa. I thought that he had jarred it loose, but in the pandemonium, it turned out it was Bernardini. But Sierra grabs the ball, one hop, 40 yards, gone into the end zone. No time left on the clock. Everyone's going crazy. Casa stands are packed. They're going nuts. The entire sideline's going nuts. Again, walk off, scoop and score touchdown. You cannot get more dramatic than that. It's for a lineman too. Big man touchdown as well, which I'd love to see.
I think the best part of that is it was such pandemonium that Gus couldn't keep his phone.
My camera, my video was totally. I was like, I like John Antonio, Casa's head coach, kind of said he's like I didn't know he's like I didn't know, like I don't know what's happened, like time just stopped, like that was unreal. And I'm like, same thing for me. I was like watching the play unfold, and I'm like, no way. And of course, I was on the opposite side of the field, so I had to sprint down to the other sideline or down to the other end zone to like try to capture some video. But yeah, I was like, I was trying to like watch the play and then also film, and then I looked anyway. So, but a much better video taken by Zane Bennett, and I shared that on my Twitter. I think Zane actually was a JC baseball player actually, which is kind of funny. But I heard that he's putting together some video highlights and compilations for like an end of season Casa like hype video, and I'm pretty sure that the clip that he got is going to make it. He had a perfect angle from the back of Vintage's end zone, watching Sierra running towards him with the ball. So go check that out. Again, I shared it on my Twitter, so you can probably find that. But yeah, that was insane. Crazy game. And I'll talk about the game here a little bit too. I mean, obviously the ending was insane, but Vintage had to kind of rally actually to get back into the game. First half was all, Vintage controlled the ball for 19 of the game's 24 minutes. That's crazy. They opened the game with a 10-minute drive, 19 plays, 10 minutes. And they had, it was funny because they even had, they got backed up a few times with penalties. So I actually had them down for like 100 plus rushing yards just in the first drive alone. It was just run. Like it was, every play was run. 19 play, 10-minute drive to open the game. They ended up scoring, took a 7-0 lead. Casa came back, got a score early in the second half, went for two. Casa was going for two, I think, all night. And actually, Vintage missed, I want to say, 2 or 3 PATs, which turned out to be huge. But yeah, Casa took an 8-7 lead in the midway through the second, and then Vintage kind of came right back. 8-minute drive to end the first half, and they ended with a 23-yard field goal to take a 10-8 lead. Kind of looking like anybody's game. Again, Vintage is doing exactly what they wanted to, control the ball. Keeping Casa's defense on the field. Casa also without Cody Cornelius. Again, they're 3-star stud lineman. Big miss, big missing piece, but they had a ton of guys step up, in a big way on Friday. Second half though, Casa comes out, 2 big touchdowns. Danny Mercado finds Roman Hill. He had a big game. He had 111 receiving yards on 4 catches. 2 of his biggest plays, obviously, came to open the second half. He had a 22-yard touchdown to open, on Casa's first drive. Casa got a 3-and-out, or they got, a quick stop against Vintage. And then Mercado hit Hill for a 73-yard, just, Hail Mary bomb touchdown. And all of a sudden it's 22-10 with about 5 minutes left in the third. And the way that Vintage was, holding and moving the ball and taking all this time, we're kind of, it's kind of like, oh man, all right, like, big advantage here for Casa. If they can hold on, get a few more stops, maybe one more score, this is probably ball game. And not what Vintage had in mind. They come back quickly, score, within like a 3-4 minute drive, proving that they can do the time consuming and the speedy offense kind of approach. 22-16 again. They missed the PAT, and then heading into the fourth, it was 22-16. Mercado gets picked off, I think, on Casa's driving, to start the fourth, and Vintage, I think, finds the end zone like 4 or 5 plays later to tie the game at 22-22. And then like a crazy last stretch of the fourth quarter. I mean, again, like this whole game is like Vintage long running heavy drive, Casa pretty quick pass heavy drive. Like it was just trading back and forth. And then all of a sudden in the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, there are 6 possession changes. Like no one can all of a sudden move the ball. Both defenses like really tightened up. But yeah, I mean, it went Casa Grande turnover on downs. Vintage got the ball back with like 4 minutes left. And of course, Casa's sideline is thinking like, holy crap, like 4 minutes left, like Vintage has the ball, they're going to kill the clock. They're going to move the ball down. It was kind of danger zone. And then Vintage actually fumbles. Cade Ray recovers. He had a huge game on defense. I think he had 15 total tackles, had the fumble recovery. Casa gets it back with like 3 minutes left, and they're actually deep in Vintage territory. Can't make anything happen. They turn it over on downs. Vintage gets the ball back again, so we're back in the same position with like 2 minutes left. Vintage can't do anything with it. They have to punt it. Punt goes all the way down to like Casa's like 18. All right, game-winning drive time for Casa. Nope. They get, Mercado gets sacked. Nope. Mercado gets sacked. Casa has to punt. Vintage gets the ball back at midfield with like 20 seconds left. And then 2 plays later is the strip sack, scoop and score ball game. Ooh. So take a breath. It was a wild finish. Again, one of the more exciting finishes that I've ever seen in, as part of high school football. And, I've seen quite a few good ones too. So yeah, I mean, huge result for Casa. Again, Casa and Petaluma hanging tight right now in the VVAL race. And like I had told Vintage head coach too after the game, Dylan Leach, I'm like, and it still doesn't seem like you guys are out of this race yet. I mean, I know they have a loss to American Canyon, they have a loss to Casa Grande. 2 losses is very hard to overcome, especially in what should be a very tight VVAL race. But I mean, Casa still has to play American Canyon and Petaluma. Petaluma still has to play Vintage and Casa. Like, there's still a lot to be decided here. So, but all that being said, too, the 2 Petaluma teams, Casa and Petaluma, sitting pretty, at the top right now, 3-0. So, yeah, I mean, again, we're gonna we've been talking about the VVAL race for the last couple of weeks, and it's probably the most exciting race I'd say that we have in our area right now, just with how many teams are in play for it. So. But yeah, a couple quick shout outs for some individuals. Danny Mercado, I mentioned him, junior quarterback, 295 passing, 3 touchdowns, had the 1 pick. Roman Hill, obviously, 111 yards, 4 catches, 2 of those were touchdowns. Gavin Pandolfi, 80 yards, receiving with a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, Casa again really didn't try to run the ball much, only 17 total yards. big credit to to Vintage's front line. They're also, I mean, Vintage is also missing quite a few of their starters. I mean, again, this is, this point of the year, injuries are taking a toll for every team really. So yeah, but yeah, Vintage did a very quality job up front, kind of, keeping Zach Herrera in check. Herrera's had a huge game for Casa on the ground, or a huge year for Casa on the ground, and yeah, wasn't able to do much. But running was not part of the game plan, I'll tell you that for sure. But unlike for Vintage, 277 on the ground, Jeffrey Page, kind of, their workhorse back at 175 rushing with a touchdown. And yeah, I mean, a couple other guys had like 80, 60, 70, but outside of that, it was pretty much all Page. So yeah, I mean, huge game for Casa going forward. They've won 6 in a row now, I want to say, since that opening season loss against Newman. Yeah, and they're for sure on the rise in our rankings, and yeah, they're looking really good in NCS Division 3. They're in Division 3 now. So again, I think they're now the 3rd seed, and we'll get into all of the playoff divisional stuff here later. But yeah, Casa is looking like it's going to be, again, if things hold pat here, it looks like they're in line probably to host a first round playoff game. So we'll see how things finish out for the Gauchos.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of mentioned the Vival race before. Obviously, Casa passed their first test of a 3-game gauntlet they have, because they have American Canyon this week and Petaluma next week. So clearly, I would say the biggest stretch of games as far as Vival is concerned on the Vival schedule.
Maybe the whole season, honestly, for Casa.
Yeah, but no kidding. So yeah, Casa passed the first test. They have 2 more tests to pass if they want to hold strong here. But that's just it. I mean, that's an insane finish. That's crazy. I was kind of speechless when I saw that, and I was like, wait a minute, like, what, like, are you serious? And it was all caps too, and I was like, oh God. So yeah. Congrats to the Gauchos. Big win. Big clash of styles. Terrible matchup for both teams, but it was Casa did it. Let's move on to another game we want to touch on a little bit more before we move on to some couple quick hitters here. St. Vincent, huge win up there in St. Bernard's. St. Vincent 45, St. Bernard's 21. St. Vincent pulled away in the second half, and Gus, I believe it was tied 21-21 in the third. Is that right?
Yeah, 21. Yeah, the St. Vincent ended the game by scoring the last 3 touchdowns. So, the last 24 points. Yeah, I mean, again, really tight game. St. Bernard's is one of the top teams in NCS Division 5. St. Vincent, obviously, top team in Division 6. These 2 teams have had some really exciting battles over the last couple of years, but St. Vincent has found a way to come out on top in a lot of them. But yeah, like you said, 21-21 in the third. It was, I think St. Vincent led 14-7 after the first half. Big shout out to Nico Antonini. He had a huge first half. He had 2 interceptions. He had a 51-yard pick 6, and he had a 45-yard touchdown catch. I don't know if you can ask for much more than that out of one player. Put the team on his back for sure. Yeah, 14-7 at the half, 21-21 tied in the third, and then Gabe Casanovas went supernova. I've been working on that one. Yeah, I mean, Gabe had a huge game, 375 passing, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. I believe he had 3 straight touchdown passes to Jack Davis in the second half. I think 2 of those came late. I think it was Frankie Monticello had the final touchdown in the 4th, and then Tyler Chalou, who had a great game kicking. He hit like a 24-yard field goal, I think, to finish it. But yeah, I mean, Casanovas to Davis has been a huge piece and connection, for that offense all year, and it really kind of showed up when it needed to again this week. So yeah, huge game for Casanovas. I said his line, but Jack, 141 receiving, 3 touchdowns, and then yeah, Nico also had a great game, 115 receiving yards with a touchdown, and also again the pick on defense, the 2 picks on defense. St. Vincent had 5 interceptions for the game. Jack Davis also had 1 too, but yeah, really strong showing here from St. Vincent. And yeah, I mean, again, we were talking about, I think a couple weeks ago or like a month ago now, after that loss to Montgomery, it's like, all right, like, where does this, how does this, St. Vincent team react? Maybe not as much star power as they've had the last couple of years, like facing some adversity. They haven't had a bad midseason loss, in a while. And they've bounced back as strong as you probably, as you probably can. I mean, big win over Fortuna, divisional win, ran up the score against Piner. And then again, you go up to St. Bernard's. And and you beat one of the better teams in a higher division, by 3 scores. Very, very impressive. For St. Vincent. So our game of the week this week is also featuring St. Vincent. We'll touch on that one in a bit, but yeah, I mean, this is I think these last 3 weeks I think it's been probably the best that St. Vincent has played all season. So they're looking like in really good shape. One, to capture the top seed in Division 6. I think that might be. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I think that might be a foregone conclusion at this point. But then, yeah, it seems to like wrapping up the NBL Redwood title. We'll come down to this week against Ukiah, and we'll talk about that a bit later for sure. But yeah, St. Vincent is rolling right now for sure.
Absolutely. I do want to give a shout out. Frankie Monticello had a pick 6 against Pioneer, and now had a touchdown against St. Bernard's. Good playing, Frankie. Good playing. And man, I love these names. Hey, we have some great names around the.
We should do like an all name team. How about that? That would be
absolutely fun. Absolutely. Yeah. First team. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. St. Vincent rounding. I mean, as if they already weren't in a form. I mean, just continue rounding in a form, especially for the home stretch here. Good things. Good things for Trent Herzog, and the fact that Casanovas is playing as well as he is.
Definitely.
Big things from sophomore quarterback. Okay, a couple quick hitters we want to touch on. Cardinal Newman 49, Annalee 14, 7th straight win for Newman. They are absolutely rolling. Wyatt Knechtel and Jason Coulter both played QB.
I think it's Knechtel.
Is it Knechtel?
I think it's Knechtley.
Knechtley. Sorry. Okay. So sorry for the pronunciation there.
Pronunciations are like a D- on the show.
But I know. But himself and Jason Coulter both played quarterback. Coulter had 3 TDs. All 3 of those were to Jonah Bertoli, who's had an amazing season on the outside. He had 6 receptions for 70 yards. Knechtley also had 1 passing touchdown and 1 rushing touchdown. Zach Homan, 165 yards, rushing 1 touchdown, which is bizarre for me to say that's like one of his worst games.
He's now over 100 games in all 7 games.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Good on you, Zach. Good on you. And then Jamari Gentry, kickoff return touchdown. Newman is. I don't know what else to say, but they are absolutely rolling. And obviously we'll get to their situation playoff wise in a bit. But they do have a big test coming up, which we'll get to later with in Rancho this week, Gus.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, last thing on Newman, but they've allowed 4 touchdowns over the last 4 games, so I'd say that's pretty good. Pretty good. But yeah, no, definitely the harder stretch coming up these next couple weeks. Rancho this week, and then obviously Windsor in a couple weeks. So yeah, we'll kind of see what happens here down the stretch. But yeah, I mean, Newman's just been kind of rolling. And then a quick thing too, I guess I should say, but we talked a bit about like their, kind of the Newman Windsor hierarchy right now too, and about strength of schedule and all these different things, and kind of as it's interesting to kind of look back like as this the season kind of progresses to see how quality some of those early season wins and losses are. And looking at, I mean, again, looking at kind of Newman's strength of schedule at this point, I believe it's higher right now. Oh, let me double check that. Last I checked, I think it was pretty even between both of those teams. But I think that in the last couple weeks, Newman's at minus 2.5 and Windsor's at plus 1.7. So Windsor has technically had a stronger strength of schedule, and kind of looking back at some of the early season wins that Newman had, they beat Casa. That win is still looking pretty good. And they beat Vacaville and Vintage. I think the Vacaville win once they beat Vacaville, I think that was kind of the big statement game, like Newman's here.
Mm-hmm.
Vacaville was kind of set to be a pretty good team this year, and they are a pretty good team. But I think by their standards, they might be a touch down from past years. I mean, they're 4-4 right now overall. I think they're a top 20 team in the top 20 or 30 team, I want to say, in the Sac-Joaquin area. Yeah, top 30 team in the Sac-Joaquin section. Sac-Joaquin section is obviously very, very tough. But yeah, I mean, I think after, I think that early season win, kind of once they had it, it was like, all right, Newman's, is really good this year, and they have been. But I think that loss or that win might have taken a bit of a strength hit, I think, since then. And then same thing with the Vintage win, 30 to 27, and they had to kind of grind for that one. Vintage is now like 2-5 now or something. So, and they're fighting for a playoff spot in Division 2. So, I mean, again, both very quality teams, still both very quality wins, but I don't think maybe as strong I think as we had kind of saw them early in the season, and then since then they've beat up on De Anza, beat up on St. Mary's Albany, beat up on Montgomery, beat up on Annaley, I mean, taking care of business as they should. So again, still very, 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 very good, and still the number one team in our rankings. But some of those early season losses maybe not as strong as I think we first thought they were. So just moving on from that. But all right, last game we'll touch on real quick. Petaluma 42, Justin Siena 12. Again, Petaluma just still rolling, taking care of business. If they coming off of that American Canyon win, we're kind of seeing like, all right, like no letdown spots here, right? Like, and so far they've held up pretty good. Another huge rushing game for the Trojans, 373 yards on the ground, 6 touchdowns. It's their third straight game over 350 yards. I mean, all 3 of those have been in league play. I mean, 7.6 yards per carry, 19 rushing touchdowns in the last 3 games. Crazy numbers. So Petaluma's offense is rolling. Their defense has been great. They're playing Napa this week, so not a huge test. But again, they finished the season out with Casa Grande and Vintage. So yeah, big couple of games there to finish it out. But yeah, I mean, Petaluma, we were the same kind of thing. We were kind of wondering like, all right, how good are they after the Carrillo loss? And like, what does that really mean for things? And I think they've bounced back from that as well as you possibly can. So Petaluma looking pretty scary, I'd say, over there in Division 4.
Yep, absolutely. And you know what's coming, but no one knows how to stop it with Petaluma. I will say this, and all the eyes are obviously on Chase Miller and the season as he's had for sure. But Ed Burnsic has just been an absolute unit. He has had a heck of a year. I know he's sort of listed as a fullback, but he gets as many carries, if not more, than Chase does some games. So he's big shout out Ed Burnsic, state qualifier in wrestling last year too. So big year from him his senior year as well. So yep, Petaluma just keeps on rolling.
Last thing on those 2 guys, but they have combined so far for 1,720 yards, 24 touchdowns so far this year. So
total?
That's pretty good. Both of them. It's total.
Jesus. Oh my goodness. All right, Gus. Well, that rounds up our sort of recap. Not as many games as we normally do because we do want to talk about this playoff scenario. Gus, I'll let you start this one because I'm not sure how you want to go about this.
Yeah, so we decided to, with kind of the last few weeks of the regular season coming up, looking at the playoff picture right now in each of the divisions. We don't have any Division 1 teams here, so we're looking at divisions 2 through 7. We're going off of the CalPreps rankings, which are also, if you're really kind of in the weeds of this, I believe they're the exact same things as the MaxPreps rankings. So it's all computer rankings that it's these are not set in stone. This is not, how your team is going to finish. If you don't get the 4 seed and it's, we're saying you get the 4 seed now, first off, again, we still have 3 weeks to play of the regular season. And also, again, these are computer rankings that take into account, strength of schedule, rating, all this different stuff. And they have an algorithm and whatever. So, and again, at the end of the day, these do, the rankings do come into play for playoff seedings, but it's not the only thing, like there actually is the North Coast Section Seeding Committee will look at all of these teams' resumes, see who get, automatic playoff berths, for league winners, and then, take into account, at-large berths and stuff. So, again, all of this is to say that this is it's a projection. It's an outlook. This is not set in stone. But I think it's interesting to kind of look at, at this point of the year, coming on the stretch, where teams kind of stand. Are there teams in the bubble? Do they have, what do they have to do? What do they have to do to make it in? Where do teams kind of stand? If a Windsor or a Newman, where are they in comparison to the top echelon team? So. Anyway, I thought that this would be kind of a fun experiment to do. So we're going to go through each of the divisions and kind of look at the projections right now and kind of see where teams stand. So quick note as we start too. So again, league winners have an automatic qualifier, and they also get to host a first round game. So we've seen this a couple times in the last few years. So like even like an 8 seed will win will win their league, and the 1 seed will be an at-large bid. But because the 8 seed won their league, they will host the first round game. So that has happened before. So again, also something to remember for league champions get an automatic berth. But for at-large requirements, you have to have one of 3 things. You have to have a 500 record, either A, overall on the season, B, against teams in your own division, or C, in league play. So if you have a 500 record or better in one of those 3 areas, then you are eligible to qualify for an at-large bid. So all things to keep in mind as we kind of go through this. So Keenan, we're going to start here with Division 2. Again, this is the CalPreps rankings, CalPreps ratings. We know what we have. So 1 seed is El Cerrito, 2 seed is Windsor, 3 seed is Granada, 4 seed is Redwood, 5 is Dublin, 6 is Rancho Cotati, 7 is Heritage, and then 8 is Vintage, and then outside looking in, we have Livermore at 9 and Foothill at 10. So we have 3 weeks left to go in the regular season. I'd say at this point, it's looking like El Cerrito probably has that 1 seed wrapped up. They are, again, last year was that really exciting Division 3 championship game between Windsor and El Cerrito. El Cerrito won that game. El Cerrito had one of the best defenses in the entire Northern California last year, and Windsor actually, hung with them actually in what was a kind of a shootout in the second half. But both those teams are now up in Division 3. Both of them are looking like probably a pretty surefire at least top 4 seeds coming down the stretch here. If Windsor does beat Newman, I think maybe that might be enough to get in over El Cerrito, but I think El Cerrito has, looking at the rest of their season, they have some very, very quality wins, against some really, really good opponents in the North Coast section. And it's also looking like they're probably going to win their league as well. So that's kind of how things are looking, I guess, for Windsor. Windsor, I feel like has a top 4 seed locked up right now. They're probably going to be hosting a first-round game again, unless their first-round matchup sneaks in with the league championship. But the other team that we should look at in Division 2 is Rancho Cotati. So they're number 6 right now. Kind of an interesting spot for them. I don't think they've been lower than a 4 seed in the last couple of years. So and again, obviously injuries have taken a big toll, but they have a couple big games coming up, I think, to finish the season. They have to, they have Newman this week, obviously. That will be a very tough game. But then they finish out, I believe, with 2 very winnable games. So I don't think it's a question that they'll make it. I just think it's a question of where they're going to be seeding wise and who they're going to have for that first round. I mean, there honestly is a chance that we could see a Windsor Rancho first round game, honestly, seeing how things play out. So yeah, I mean, anything you wanted to kind of add about Division 2 playoffs at this point? I mean, it seems like we're going to have 2 pretty surefire teams in Windsor and Rancho, and then we'll just kind of see where they fall.
Yeah, I will say this: it is interesting, folks, just to see how much divisions change year to year. Like last year, if this were the same as last year, we'd still have Campo Lindo in there. You would still have San Ramon Valley in there. San Ramon Valley obviously just took De La Salle to the absolute limit. They could meet each other in the playoffs again, but both of those teams are now in Division 1. So it's really interesting to see how teams move up and down throughout divisions. But yeah, I mean, Windsor's obviously Windsor, and we'll talk about that enough. But Rancho Cotati, obviously, their playoff hopes took a huge hit with the loss to Windsor. Obviously, that divisional loss.
Yeah.
I would say the bigger loss for Rancho was that loss to Redwood early on in the season. That was a bigger toll. And they had that game won. I still think they make it. Even if they do lose to Newman, I still think they do make it. I think it's on the fringe though. But it all depends on the health of Rancho. Their health will take them as far as they go. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Windsor gets the 2. I don't see them jumping over El Cerrito like you said. I think Windsor's a very solid 2. So yeah, I mean it's very interesting. But yeah, if we get a Windsor Rancho opening round matchup, that would be super fun.
Yeah. No, I don't see anybody else kind of on the outside jumping over Windsor at this point. I mean, Windsor has played a really hard strength of schedule. I mean, Granada, I think they could win their league. Although let me just double check that real quick. But
they beat Dublin.
Yep. Yeah. They beat Dublin. They have a win over Rancho, which has a loss over Redwood. And Redwood too has to play, I think, Marin Catholic still, to close out the season. So, and again, Redwood's not going to win the MCAL. Redwood's playing Marin Catholic this week. So I expect them maybe to fall a bit. So yeah, I mean, we'll see, but it does look like Windsor is in good shape to get a top 4 seed, and then Rancho Rancho, I think has a is like an 80% chance again, to make it. I think unless again something terrible happens and they somehow lose 2 of their next 3 or all of their next 3. I think that's like the only way that they could not get in. So we'll see how that goes. But all right, moving up to D3 because we have a couple divisions here. So let's try to
this one is stacked.
Division 3 could be very interesting. We have potentially 4 teams that could make it in here. At the moment, top seed is Marin Catholic, 2 is Cardinal Newman, 3 is Casa Grande, 4 is Las Lomas, 5 is Tamalpais, 6 is Bishop O'Dowd, 7 is American Canyon, 8 is Ukiah, and 9 is Montgomery, and 10 is Hayward. So I will say, for as many teams as we could have in this one, I think this is a pretty clear-cut, like we already know what the championship game is going to be. This is going to be Marin Catholic, Cardinal Newman again. I think this would be like the 7th straight year that they'd meet in the NCS playoffs. Something like that. They have, again, this is one of the great storied rivalries, of the North Bay, of the last decade or so. So, some epic games, during this rivalry. Not so much the last couple of years. Marin Catholic is kind of taken it to Newman the last couple of years, both blowout losses in the NCS title game. But this year it does seem like the playing field is much more even. Marin Catholic hasn't played a ton of people. Again, they took care of TAM pretty well last week, but it wasn't by any means the blowout that I think many teams thought it would have been. So yeah, again, I think the gap might be shrinking a bit here between Newman and MC again. So we'll see. But again, I think again, no disrespect to Casa, no disrespect to American Canyon, Ukiah, or Montgomery, but it does just appear that Marin Catholic and Newman are just a class above everybody else in this division at this point.
Yeah, although this point in the season, I would like to see Newman and Casa play again. I think that would be a different matchup. I think it'll be a lot closer. But if the playoffs ended right now, and hypothetically, if these were their matchups, and if these were the seeds or the rankings or whatever, American Canyon is a dangerous 7 seed. They are a dangerous 7 seed. I will give them that. That is no slouch. I remember last year, it was Division 4 opener. It was Cardinal Newman 3 seed versus Petaluma, who was the 6 seed, and Petaluma gave him quite the game before Newman pulled it out late. So no, I think I do agree with what you say about the championship game, but I will say there are absolutely no walkovers in this division.
For sure,
I don't think there are. So
no, I agree. I agree with you too. And again, it's the playoffs. One game can be the difference. Someone gets hurt. Something crazy happens. So yeah, obviously not discounting any of the other teams, but I think it's a pretty easy bet that we're going to see an MC Newman championship here. But one other fun wrinkle that we could see that I'm definitely keeping an eye on is
you've been talking about this for weeks.
Oh yeah, man, this would be fun. This would be a ton of fun. Paul Cronin facing his former alma mater. Supposed to happen a couple years ago. When he was at Windsor, Newman had to cancel that game because of COVID cases. Would have been one of the biggest games I think in some kind of history. Again, Paul Cronin spent 20 years at Newman, won 2 state titles, crazy decorated, career, and then goes over to Windsor. Windsor's a great team. Those 2 teams, it would have been an electric game, and ended up not happening very unfortunately. But yeah, again, we could get a different variation of this if Ukiah can kind of sneak into that 7 seed, or again, if Ukiah gets in and then wins a game or 2 and faces they could face Newman in a semifinal game or a quarterfinal game or something. So, and also what would be an interesting wrinkle is if Newman loses to Windsor, or if Windsor wins the league, and Ukiah wins the NBL Redwood, then Newman would have to play up in Ukiah, and again that's
all hell would break loose.
That would be a pretty fun hypothetical, but yeah, again, too early to call any of this stuff, but definitely something to watch is Cronin versus Newman there in Division 3.
That is just
that'll be fun.
Well, also, I do want to say, although they have a pretty tough schedule finishing out here, but Montgomery is looking on the fringe there as well. Who knows? They could turn things around. I know they have Windsor this week, Winter next week. Tough slate, but then they finish with Annalise, so who knows?
Yeah, and they do have a head-to-head win over Hayward, but again, they have a loss against Ukiah, which is also in the same division, which will definitely hurt them. Yeah,
But
and
never
also
say never. Who knows?
and also a loss to Newman too. So I mean, again, they do have to finish with an above 500 record, which we'll see. I mean, again, they just have to go 1-2 in these last couple games to have that 500 record for the year. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to. Monty, I think definitely needs some things to break right for them to sneak in, but there's always a chance. All right, Division 4. A couple teams in at play here. So we got 1 San Marin, 2 Acalanes, 3 Petaluma, 4 Vallejo, 5 Del Norte, 6 is Maria Carrillo, 7 is Tennyson, and 8 is Kennedy Fremont. And then at 11 on the outside looking in right now is Piner. Obviously, so that Carrillo Piner game last week was huge for this. For both teams' playoff standings. Carrillo, I think, was like the 10 seed last week before this. Now they're all the way up to 6 after that divisional win over Piner. So big win for them. But I think Petaluma is looking like a bit of is looking like a lock right now. I mean, definitely to make it. They're for sure going to make it, but it's like, are they going to get a top 4 seed? How is the VVAL going to shake out? But I think this is kind of similar to D3, where everyone is trying to chase after San Marin. San Marin is a back-to-back state champion. They won Division 5 last 2 years. They got moved up due to competitive equity rules. They beat Acalanes to open the year. Granted, it was a close game. But yeah, I mean, San Marin, again, they're also, I think, ranked in, the top 15 of medium small schools, I want to say, for Cal High sports ranking. So San Marin is legit. I mean, they're the number 2 team in the North Bay behind Marin Catholic right now. So I think everyone is kind of chasing after them, but as things go, and like we said, I've kind of been all these divisions, it is the playoffs, crazy things happen, but I think San Marin is kind of the team to beat right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And obviously, everyone up here is circling that November 3rd date for Windsor Newman, but everyone down in Marin County is circling that November 3rd date for San Marin Catholic.
Yeah, November 4th, isn't it?
Oh no, November 4th. I forgot. I forgot.
Saturday.
No lights.
Yep.
But I will say this, and this is kind of weird saying that as being them a 3 seed right now, but I do think Petaluma is a kind of a dark horse to make it to that championship game. I wouldn't be surprised if that they upset Acalanes if this is how the standings end up being, but a Petaluma and Maria Carrillo rematch in the first round would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was an insane game you covered. But yeah, I mean, I really would not. I really am kind of high on Petaluma making it to that championship game. I mean, they're they're playing really well after that opening loss to Rancho Cotati and obviously Maria Carrillo, excuse me. But if they stay consistent, watch out for those Trojans. Carrillo, but again, what Carrillo's just interesting to us because we still have no idea what to make of them. But if they could be dangerous when they're on their day. And Piner, I love my guys over at Piner, love T-Bell, love Ronnie, but I just don't think that I think that things haven't worked in their favor enough to warrant getting in there, sneaking in there rather.
Yeah, and so Piner does have a game this week against Novato, which is also in Division 4. So if they win that one, I believe that let me just double check their record. If they win that one, oh, is that?
Could boost them.
Yeah, no, because they also have a win over Eureka, which I believe is also Division 4. So I think that would give them an over 500 record against teams in Division 4. But either way, it is going to be tough sledding for them to kind of sneak in, especially over a couple teams. But yeah, I mean, I think Maria Carrillo, I think, should probably get in. But I think they're going to be hitting the road, I think, for sure on the first run game. But I think they will be sneaking in there. And then Petaluma, yeah, we'll see if they can be a dark horse because it is looking like a San Marin Acalanes collision course again, but we will see. All right, moving on. Last couple divisions here, but Division 5, 3 teams here that could make it in locally. We're going to start with just going through 1 through 8. Number 1 is Miramonte, 2 is St. Bernard's Eureka, 3 is Alhambra, 4 is Annalee, 5 San Rafael, 6 Sonoma Valley, 7 Terra Linda, 8 Justin Siena, and then 9 is Piedmont and 10 is Archie Williams. So it's looking like Annalee is probably going to be getting in. They have some quality wins. I'm doing this on the fly again. They've also beaten Eureka, again, who's also a divisional opponent. Yes, they lost to Petaluma, but Petaluma is looking pretty good, and they have that win over Maria Carrillo as well. So again, if they can just last 3 games for them, so they play Santa Rosa, they're at Windsor, and they're home against Montgomery. If they can win again 1 out of those 2, then they'll have the minimum 500 record or better to qualify. So I think Anley has a good chance of getting in. And again, if these rankings kind of hold up, then we could be seeing a rematch of that Anley San Rafael first round game last year. That was pretty exciting. So yeah. And then also Sonoma Valley, a team that we've been pretty high on. I know they made playoffs last year as an at-large team, and they have a chance to do it again this year. They're 3-4 right now. They play Vintage and Casa and Justin Siena to finish out the season. Vintage and Casa are going to be very tough, but if they can beat Justin Siena, that would be huge for both, for their resume as well. So if they can beat Justin, I'd say they're for sure in. But again, vice versa. I think if Justin can beat Sonoma Valley, I think then they're for sure in. So that game is going to be big for both those teams, kind of for playoff circumstances. But don't know a ton about Division 5 top schools. I mean, again, we've seen St. Bernard's. They look quite good. Don't know much about Miramonte, but I know that Miramonte, I believe, won it all last year, if I remember correctly.
I think they did as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they were. Their offense last year was electric. I think they had a UCLA commit as their quarterback or something. Their offense was dynamite last year. No, sorry. So they were in Division 5 last year and they lost to San Marin. That was when San Marin was in Division 5. So San Marin won it all last year. That's right. So we'll see if Miramonte can get their chances here. But yeah, again, Anley, Sonoma Valley, Justin Siena, all I think Anley and Sonoma Valley, or Anley might be the only surefire lock here, and Sonoma Valley and Justin Siena might be fighting for that last spot.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. Either teams. I know Justin Siena's had some. I think they were in D6 last year, but I'm pretty sure they've had some success at the D6 level in the playoffs at least. So definitely interesting going a division up for them. Obviously playing in the heart, super tough VVAL. For both the teams, actually. Sonoma Valley and Justin Siena. It's pretty unlucky for them that they're in a conference like the VVAL, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, both of them are both, I would say, D5 playoff caliber. So it would be interesting to see how this whole thing shapes out. But Annalee could be a dark horse. Who knows?
Yep. We have about 9 teams that could be dark horses, it sounds like. The playoffs,
hey, we use Frisky a lot. Now we're using dark horse a lot.
All right, last couple of divisions here, but
this isn't a dark horse.
Anyway, no, not a dark horse. No, but yeah, the next two I'd say are pretty clear cut. But Division 6, number 1 is St. Vincent, 2 is Salesian, 3 is Fortuna, 4 is Moreau Catholic, 5 is Middletown, 6 is St. Mary's Albany, 7 is Arcata, and 8 is Kennedy Richmond, with Pinole Valley and Fort Bragg at 9 and 10. St. Vincent was the top seed in Division 7 last year. The top seed in Division 6 this year. I don't see that changing. Salesian, I guess, possibly could if Salesian does have to play, I believe, El Cerrito to end the year. I don't think Salesian is going to upset El Cerrito, but if they do, then I would say that is a pretty easy way to get the number 1 seed in your division. But again, don't see that happening. But same thing with St. Vincent, though. Again, they're playing Ukiah this week, and I think after that the schedule wraps up pretty easily. But again, a win over Ukiah, I think they're for sure number 1. Again, unless Salesian beats El Cerrito, but outside of that, I think again, St. Vincent also has that head-to-head win over Fortuna, which is huge. So we'll see, but it is looking like St. Vincent is on a good path here to get back to its 3rd straight NCS title game. That's pretty impressive to say for year 6 for Trent Herzog, I want to say.
Yeah, no doubt. Salesian, obviously 6-1. You're right. They do host El Cerrito final game of the season. They play 2-5 Bethel this week, and then Hercules away next week. Do have some pretty nice. Salesian definitely has got some pretty nice division wins. St. Mary's out of Albany, they beat 18-14. Again, strong case for sure for Salesian, but I just don't think they take it over St. Vincent, especially the way St. Vincent's been playing the last couple of weeks with that win over Fortuna and St. Bernard's. It looks like everyone's chasing St. Vincent here, and I don't expect that to change, to be completely honest with you. But again, who knows? Again, folks, these are not set in stone, so keep that in mind.
Yep. All right. Last one, Division 7. Also, not looking like much of a contest here, but one is Clear Lake, two is Willits, three is Kelseyville, four is St. Helena, five is St. Patrick's St. Vincent out of Vallejo, six is Ferndale, and then 7 and 8 Cloverdale and Healdsburg, both teams that are, I believe, 1-5 and 0, 6-1 or something. So, quick thing on those two, Healdsburg and Cloverdale, both are currently not eligible to make it in because they have not met any of the minimum requirements. And again, this is why we're, these are projection. This is a current snapshot of where things are, but this is not what it's going to be. But again, the at-large requirements, 500 winning, 500 record either overall against teams in your division or C in league, and Healdsburg and Cloverdale don't have either of those. So not looking like either of them are going to be a playoff team. And so 9 and 10 are Upper Lake and Hoopa Valley. So you wouldn't be shocked if those two teams going to get in. But Keenan and I were talking about this earlier, where it's like I'm not sure how it works out where, if a division cannot fulfill all 8 teams, like I don't know if they leave it vacant, if teams have first round buys, like, again, like what if a division doesn't have 8 teams, that have that, all the qualifying marks. So I'm not quite sure what the rest of the bracket will look like, but I think again, this is looking like a pretty clear-cut Clear Lake, back to back. I'd say D7. I mean, like, not to discount anyone else in the NCL one, but Clear Lake is just head and shoulders right now above everybody else over in that league. I mean, we wrote we had a freelancer write a great feature about them last week. But I mean, right now, like, just looking at their scoring differential, they're 7-0, undefeated in the NCL one. They've outscored teams by 300 points this year, which is nuts. So again, they do have a big game this week. They're playing Willits. I mean, that is, again, top 2 teams in that league, and a win for Willits, I think, would be huge. And might kind of shakes or maybe not flip those 2 teams, but I'd say, maybe cast a bit of doubt that Clear Lake is as untouchable as we think they are. But yeah, I mean, we'll see how that, how Clear Lake takes care of business in that one, because I believe that game is the game is at Willits. So enemy territory, we'll see. NCL one is always kind of fun. We don't do really any coverage of them anymore, but yeah, I mean, it's that small school, the small school Lake County Mendocino League is always provides some very fun entertainment. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, St. Helena is looking like a pretty good at-large team here. I mean, they're 4-3 right now overall. They have a win over Healdsburg. They have a win over Upper Lake. They have a win over Lower Lake.
Big divisional test, though, coming up for them.
Yeah, Cloverdale this week, I mean, I think they should win that one, and then they finish out with Fort Bragg and Kelseyville. So, I mean, I guess it's funny because the good thing about playing in the NCL one as a D7 team is you're basically playing against all the teams that you play against the playoffs. So it's pretty much all D7 and one D6 team in Middletown.
It's kind of a lot easier to figure out.
Big time, yeah. So, but yeah, D7 looking like Clear Lake, just like D6 is looking like St. Vincent. So, it will be very fun to look back once the playoff standings come out and see just how wrong we were about all of these things. So, again, we're this is all just kind of projections right now. I just thought it would kind of be a fun experiment to kind of go through this, but it is cool to like look and see kind of where people stand at this point of the year. So, again, all of this is with the caveat: who the hell knows what's going to happen? High school football is crazy, and would not expect wouldn't be surprised if crazy things do happen. So, and that's why we'll cover it, because it's super entertaining. So.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
Okay, and real quick before we move on, Gus, we'll do this later on once everything's finalized and stuff like that. We'll do a couple more episodes where we figure out all this other stuff. But all right, let's move on to our week 9 rankings. Thank you guys for following us through all that. If it was a lot, I'm sorry. It's again not set in stone. But anyways, not too many changes in this one, just a couple. Obviously, Rancho and Casa flip. Casa Grande's 3, Rancho is 4. Actually, I should probably just read it out. Cardinal Newman stays at 1, Winter stays at 2, Casa Grande moves up to 3, Rancho Cotati drops to 4, Petaluma drops to 5, St. Vincent and American Canyon, they flip-flop. St. Vincent is now at 6, American Canyon at 7. On the bubble, Ukiah, Vintage, and Montgomery. Petaluma as good as they've been so far, they do stay do stay right below Rancho Cotati because of that head-to-head matchup, the first game of the season at SRJC,
Yep.
which Rancho won pretty comfortably. And then St. Vincent, we decided to bump up due to their huge wins over Fortuna and St. Bernard's since that Monty loss, which I guess you covered, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are our top seven for this week.
Yep, not much else to say about this. I will say though, we have noticed a funny little wrinkle detail in this.
I noticed it last week.
the curse of the 3 spot. Yeah. What is it, Keenan? I think you found that out. Do we mention it on last week's pod?
Yeah, I mentioned it last week's pod. Okay. So now that makes 4 straight weeks where including this past week, the 4 straight weeks where the number 3 team has lost. So Casa Grande, it's up for you to break the curse, but that's the tough matchup against American Canyon. So if you break the curse of the 3 spot, then that boosts your case even more.
Might put him at 1. Might put him at 1 if
honestly have him jump all the way up. Okay, so yeah, those are our rankings here. Let's move on to our predictions and previews and stuff like that. Last week, Gus, you were 13-1. I was a perfect 14-0. I would celebrate it, but then again, we pretty much picked all the games the same.
The one game that I switched.
I know. The one game that you went, I'm going to switch mid-episode, you ended up losing. So 13-1 for you. I'm 14-0 this week. Season records, Gus, you're 73-25. I am 72-26. It still baffles me how many games we actually predict in a season, to be completely honest with you. But 14 games this week. Oh wait, no, sorry, not 14 games this week. 14
games last week.
Yeah, 14 games last week. Excuse me. So obviously the one caveat there was Santa Rosa. You picked Santa Rosa to beat Montgomery. That did not happen. I picked Montgomery, so that was the one little blemish on your record last week. All right, let's head into our preview. Got some pretty big matchups as far as league races are concerned this week. Let's start with our game of the week, Ukiah at St. Vincent. You will be there Saturday at 2 p.m. Splitting this one, I'm going St. Vincent. Gus, you are actually going against your rule and picking against St. Vincent this week. I mean, what else is there to say? This is pretty much the de facto NBL Redwood Championship game.
Pretty much. I know I'm breaking my rule. I'm picking against St. Vincent. I'm sure I will hear about it from St. Vincent people when I'm there on Saturday, but I'm expecting a great game. Ukiah is rolling right now. They are at again as full strength as they've been. I mean, again, I don't know if they have Emery Mathis back as one of their best running backs, but they have been rolling recently. Last couple of weeks, obviously, again that big win over St. Bernard's. St. Vincent just had that big win over St. Bernard's. I believe St. Vincent is going to open, or I think there's something like a touchdown favorite in this one. I think it'll be closer. One of the big home field advantages that St. Vincent have is playing on Saturday afternoons. When it's hot on the turf. Well, Ukiah just went up to St. Bernard's and played on a Saturday afternoon and won. So they have that experience. They know how to pull it out. They have a great new quarterback, or a great up and coming quarterback in Bo David. Battle of sophomore quarterbacks in this one. Bo David and Gabe Casanovas. Again, this is a battle of the top 2 teams in the NBL Redwood, and we will see after Saturday which team comes out on top. But I am picking Ukiah. That's probably going to come back to bite me, but I don't know. I think Ukiah has kind of been rolling under the radar a bit this year, and I think this is the game where they really kind of emerged as like here comes Ukiah kind of thing. So again, with Paul Cronin kind of putting his system in, the first couple of weeks or the first month of the season was kind of tough. They lost obviously 2 of their better players. In that fighting incident early on, in the opening game, had some tough losses, but I think, now that, the players have had, almost 2 months in the system now, they know what it takes to win. They have good pieces. They have great offensive players. They have some big dudes on the line too. So
always have.
So I think this will be a really, really fun game. And if you're not doing anything on Saturday afternoon, definitely make it out to Petaluma to check this one out. But yeah, I'm going to go with Ukiah. I know they haven't beaten St. Vincent since the 2 kind of or since this new very iteration of the NBL, but think they snapped that streak this year. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I'm picking UKI.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned the early season losses and stuff. Keep in mind that those losses were to pretty high quality opponents too. You
For
know,
sure.
Windsor is looking really good. Dublin, even though I mean Dublin is a lot higher division as well, and they're looking pretty well, not higher division, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean. I mean
Division two. Yeah,
yeah,
they're a
yeah,
good
yeah.
Division two team. Yeah.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I actually might, I mean, I know I'm not covering this one, but I might just come just for the heck of it because I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty much the game. But I'm going with St. Vincent. I'm sticking with the rule. I don't think I've picked against St. Vincent ever, to be honest with you. So, yep, sticking with the Mustangs here. I do think it'll be a great game, though. I think it's going to be a lot closer game than people will give it credit for. But like you said, that Saturday heat, I experienced it firsthand with St. Vincent Piner, where it was like 110 degrees on the turf. It's only supposed to be like 70 degrees or something like that in overcast this weekend, so should be a lot more comfortable. All right, next game up, Gus. I think you'll be at this one on Friday. You're doing double duty this week. Cardinal Newman at Rancho Cotati. Huge test for Newman. Another huge test for Rancho. Second straight year where they play Newman and Windsor back to back. Biggest question here: will Jacob Pruitt be playing? How healthy is he if he does play? What's their scheme going to look like? But I mean, regardless, don't count out Rancho. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not so sold on it. I mean, just looking. I mean, I think even if Jake does play, obviously that's a huge shot in the arm. I think it will be a different game if he does play, but I still think this is a terrible matchup for Rancho Cotati. Rancho is, even with Pruitt and with Hale, they're a super run heavy team this year. And Newman has probably the best line in the area. I mean, again, we've had multiple teams, multiple coaches now saying that they look like a junior college line, with how big and physical and talented their guys are up front. So this is going to be a very, very tough matchup for Rancho, with their, run heavy, offense. Newman is going to be stacking the box. They're going to be geared to stop that. Like you said, though, Garrick and that staff are well prepared, and they we're well prepared against, for the Windsor game. And I'm sure they're going to have a good game plan for this one, but this is just looking like, especially Newman, Rancho last year shut out Newman at home. I think it was the first time that Rancho had beaten Newman in 20 years at Newman. And it was like Newman's first shutout loss in I don't know, since 2015 or something like that. So
yeah,
I'm sure those things are going to be on Newman's mind. And this will also be the first game that we cover for Newman this year. Obviously with all the fun drama with Richard Sanchez at the start of the year. So I'm sure that he will be motivated to get even after that 20-0 loss last year. So I'm thinking Newman wins. I'm thinking they win. I'm going to say it. I think Newman wins this one big.
Okay. Wow. Pretty I would say bold statement, but I mean we'll just see how it goes. Okay, American Canyon at Casa Grande. Second test here in that three game gauntlet for Casa. I will be there covering this one. We're both going Casa Grande this year. Casa Grande here. I would not be surprised if this went either way, though. I mean, I love this matchup. I think this is going to be entertaining. And
Yep.
I know, Gus, last week you said that there were going to be points put up in the vintage Casa Grande game, but there are going to be points put up in this one. There is no doubt about it.
Yep.
Casa's on a 3-game losing streak to American Canyon. Again, Casa's got that sour taste in their mouth because they lost to American Canyon twice last year. First in the regular season that knocked them out of the Viva race, and then later in the playoffs, which knocked them out of the playoffs. In the playoffs game,
ended their season. Yeah, they had
ended their season.
2 losses in the last 4 weeks. Yeah, brutal.
Yeah, ended their season, and it wasn't particularly close too. That game was 35-7. So Casa's 1-5 versus American Canyon since the creation of the Vine Valley Athletic League. So Casa's going to be they're going to be pretty pissed off, but Casa is playing extremely well, and it looks like American Canyon is getting things back together after obviously that big loss against Petaluma. This is super interesting, Gus. This could go either way. We're both going Casa. Just let me know what you think.
Yeah, and this is we're really putting the PD curse to the test, and also the curse of number 3 in our rankings to the test here, because we're both picking Casa. Casa is our number 3 team. So this is this just spells Casa Grande loss here. But yes, I am also picking Casa Grande. Again, like you said, I think this will be a very fun matchup. It looks like a lot of points. Both of these teams can put up points in a hurry. Again, Casa Grande's defense has been, again, one of its biggest strengths this year. So we'll see how they can kind of show out against I don't know. I'd say this is probably one of the better offenses that they've played against all year. So
it's so fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it'll be a very fun, entertaining matchup, and again, a lot at stake here. Vival's up for grabs. Playoff seeding's up for grabs. Both of these teams are in D3. Yeah, so this could be and then again that the history last year with AmCam really kind of knocking Casa's season out last year. I'm sure Casa will come out very motivated, especially playing at home. It's gonna be senior night. A lot of emotions for sure as well. So. Yeah, I'm taking Casa. I think it will be close, like you said, but I think Casa comes out on top.
I will say just one key to the game. I think it's going to be interesting because both secondaries are going to be tested throughout the night, right? But I think the main key is if that defensive line of Casa can really contain Mason Harris, because when Mason Harris gets going with his legs, oh my gosh, it is crazy. So that's a big key there. But Trevor Hudson, he's doing a great job with those Wolves over there. So this is going to be fun. Okay, those are let's get to the rest of the predictions here. Gus, Santa Rosa at Annaley. Both teams coming off the loss here. Santa Rosa to Montgomery, Annaley to Carl Newman. We're going with Annaley in this one.
Yep, I think Annaley's a better team. Yeah, not much else really to say, but yeah, Santa Rosa had that tough loss last week against Monty, and then Annaley again got beat up by Newman. So I think Annaley bounced back well with this one.
Put it on the bulletin board there, Roy. Like you do every week. Anyways, Montgomery at Windsor. Montgomery coming off the win for Santa Rosa, like we just mentioned, but they run into Windsor next game up. I don't think that Montgomery is the strength nor personnel to match up with Windsor. Windsor in this one.
Yep, not much to debate either. Yeah, I think Windsor wins this one.
All right, guess your Greyhounds hosting Maria Creo at Rec Park, good old Rec Park. Very interesting. Well, not really interesting. Maria Creo is better.
Very interesting.
Maria Creo is better. We both have the Pumas, guys.
You know what? I'm changing my. I'm just kidding. We're going Creo.
Jesus.
We're going Creo. Sorry, Greyhounds.
St. Helena, Cloverdale. We kind of mentioned this one earlier when we were talking about all the playoff predictions and stuff like that, but I think St. Helena is better than Cloverdale. We've talked about it before for the last couple of weeks. Cloverdale kind of on a rebuilding year this season, and both going with the Saints.
Yep, not much to say either. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's definitely been kind of a tough year for Cloverdale. They've been in some games, but they've just haven't been able to put it all together really much. So I think St. Helena wins this one.
Napa at Petaluma. I just think Petaluma is better. I don't see that frisky Napa team that we've talked about so much. Stopping that Petaluma run and just Petaluma in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing for the Trojans here will just be staying healthy, and again, kind of avoiding a letdown spot. We kind of thought, hey, maybe after that MCAM game, Justin Siena might be a letdown spot. It wasn't, and just if Petaluma can kind of keep it going here, it's a fun place to play, I believe. Oh, wait, never mind. They're not playing at Memorial. It's a home game for Petaluma, but
Petaluma is a fun place to play, though.
Petaluma is a fun place to play, but yeah, Memorial, it's not quite the same. Memorial
yeah.
Stadium in Napa is very, very really cool venue. But yeah, I think Petaluma is a better team here. Keep it going. Don't let up. Especially with these last couple of games coming up. But yeah, I think they take care of business again.
All right, Vintage versus Sonoma Valley. We're as high as we are on that Sonoma Valley team and all the weapons they have. I just don't think that they have the size for the way Vintage plays. I just think Vintage in this one. Yeah,
Vintage is going to come out pretty fired up too after the Casa loss. So I'd say Vintage by quite a bit in this one.
Novato at Piner. This could actually be an interesting one, but we're both going with Piner in this one.
Well, again, Piner needs this win to kind of stay in the hunt for a playoff seed.
Yeah.
So I think Piner takes care of business, especially at their place. Novato's not very good this year, and then Piner has again been on the tough end of some bad losses the last couple of weeks. So I think that they bounced back nicely with a win here.
All right, LC Allen at Tamales got a couple 8-man games we wanna get through here. LC Allen at Tamales, Tamales in this one.
Yeah, not much to debate. LC Allen had its closest game last year. They put up season high 24 points against Potter Valley, but lost. Yeah, I don't think it's much of a contest here. Tamales has been a very good program this year, and LC is still building, but this will not be their game.
This will not be their game. All right, next up, Calistoga at South Fork. South Fork, not the greatest eight-man program out there. I think Calistoga handles them pretty easily.
I agree. Not a whole lot else to say. I don't think South Fork has. South Fork actually played an 11-man team this year. Fort Bragg. It's interesting. Don't know how that worked out. And they played Hoopa Valley. I'm very confused here. Why South Fork and not an 8-man team? I'm confused here.
I don't know.
I'm very confused now. South Fork has played Fort Bragg, Hoopa Valley, Ferndale, and Clear Lake, and Kennedy Richmond, which are all 11-man teams. So not quite sure what happened there. That's kind of funny. But yeah, now I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, wait, should we pick South Fork instead? But no, I'm gonna stick with Calistoga here. Just confused by their schedule as I'm going through this.
That's funny. Okay, should we just move on to the next one? Let's do that.
Sure.
All right, Cornerstone Christian versus Rosen University Prep, Friday at 6 p.m. Gus, Rosen University Prep, man. After that turnaround there, they're playing some pretty good ball. We're sticking with the Knights here with the home game.
This is de facto league championship over the NCL3. Top two teams here, Cornerstone Christian and Roseland University Prep, are both 3-0. They've both been killing teams in league play. RUP has won 6 in a row. I think Cornerstone Christian, they had a loss to California School for the Deaf a couple weeks ago. So and also these are two first surefire playoff teams over in the NCS 8-man playoff. So I think this should be a really fun game. And honestly, I'm like, if we could have if our schedule wasn't as packed, I'm like, this would have been actually a pretty fun game to go cover. But it is down in Antioch, so yeah, I think this will be a close game. But I think RUP keeps rolling. We're gonna say 6 in a row or 7 in a row here for the Knights.
Perfect. All righty, let's end it off with St. Patrick, St. Vincent at Justin Siena. St. Patrick, St. Vincent, I believe 5-2, and Justin Siena is 3-4. We're splitting this one. This is Saturday at 7 p.m. Rare night game on Saturday. We're splitting this one. I personally, I know St. Patrick, St. Vincent has the record, but I think it could be interesting this one. Just throw something out there. Go with the Braves.
Yeah, again, as you can tell from this analysis, we're not exactly experts in either of these teams, but this is kind of a shot in the dark. But no, I think St. Patrick, St. Vincent is I think they're a top what are they? Division 7, they're a top 5 seed over in D7. So I know that they're in a lower division here than Justin Siena is, but yeah, I'm gonna say St. Patrick, St. Vincent pulls the upset here. I think that they're the favorite. I don't know, but.
So St. Patrick, St. Vincent pulls the upset, but they're the favorite.
Oh, well, I don't know. I have no idea. I honestly have no idea. So kind of a pick 'em, but I'm just, we'll say St. Patrick, St. Vincent. Why not?
Okay, perfect. All right. So that rounds up all of our football stuff for this episode. Gus, we have a couple things to go over, especially on the volleyball front. This Thursday, NBL Oak and NBL Redwood actually championship games pretty much. Ukiah, Rancho Cotati, and then Windsor at Cardinal Newman. Windsor still has to get past Maria Carrillo tonight. So nothing is set in stone, obviously. But Thursday, if things hold, should be exciting night for volleyball there, Gus.
Absolutely. Windsor undefeated right now in league. Newman's only loss has come against them. And again, that first game, I was at the first game at Windsor. Windsor swept Newman 3-0, and first set was kind of close, but after that it was all Windsor. So I know that the Newman crowd is fired up for this game. It's going to be at Newman. It's going to be a great atmosphere. 6 o'clock start on Thursday. Yeah, not much else to say, but that should be an awesome game. Newman or Windsor did sweep Carrillo earlier in league play this year, so I think that they're gonna take care of business tonight. And yeah, I guess we'll need to figure out. You might need to reach out to the league commissioners to see if there is a tiebreaker situation here, because again, Newman with its one loss, and I think I have to do the same with Ukiah Rancho. But yeah, I mean, again, Newman should take care of business tonight. They're playing Montgomery. And then setting up that awesome final game there. So it should be a crazy atmosphere. I'm sure that again, from what I saw at the Windsor game, was packed house. Football players were out. Both the student sections were packed. Bunch of a couple other media outlets were there too. It was really fun. So I think that again, league title on the line at Newman, going to be an awesome game. So yeah, if you have no plans Thursday night, go check that one out. And then I'll be over at the NBL Redwood, essentially de facto championship game. Ukiah is undefeated. They've been one of the better teams, for sure in this area as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and they're fun to watch too.
Yeah, they could I forget when their last league title was. I think it might have been like 2017. I want to say something like that. So yeah, they have a chance to clinch to wrap up the league title on Thursday again, beating if they can beat Rancho Cotati. They've already beaten Rancho once this year again, swept them 3-0. So yeah, it's looking like Ukiah and Windsor are kind of the two top teams right now in both those leagues. And also it's kind of fun because Ukiah has actually beaten Windsor this year during tournaments. So but yeah, Windsor is still ranked I think in the top 10, top 12 of the CIF does regional rankings, for volleyball. And I think Windsor is still in the top, at least top 15, for the North region, which is like the, Sac-Joaquin section, Northern section, North Coast section. So it takes all of those sections into one, and Windsor's been kind of the cream of the crop this year. So yeah, and then playoffs start next week for volleyball. So we're moving right along here.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, like you mentioned, Rancho Cotati 7-1 in league. Their lone loss was to Ukiah, so definitely gonna have to check out those tiebreak situations if it comes to it. Anything else, Gus? Anything on the cross country front? Anything else we need to talk about, or
not really? I mean, kind of a fun dual meet last week I covered Maria Carrillo and Montgomery. Again, I think one of the big storylines this year has been Hannah Thompson. Obviously, in her junior year, Monty has probably probably the one of the best 1-2-3 punches in Northern California, if not the state, with Thompson, and then her fellow junior classmates Emery Lacefield and Celia Kittlestrom. They've been just killing it this year, running PRs left and right. But yeah, one of the big storylines that I was going to mention was Maria Carrillo has a freshman, Ashlyn Mallon. You might recognize that last name. She is the oldest daughter of Julie Stamps Mallon, who again was one of the most decorated girls or women cross country runners or women distance runners of all time, from this area. So but yeah, first time that they went head to head in a race together on last Wednesday in a dual meet, and Thompson just smoked the field again. So I did talk to Ashlyn, after the race, kind of first time talking with her, it'll be really fun to kind of see her career. And but she's definitely like, man, I haven't quite had a breakthrough yet, but I know it's coming. And so yeah, very excited to kind of see how she progresses here. But yeah, Monty and Carrillo are the two best teams by far. I will say Santa Rosa also is very strong this year as well. They have a couple of very good, very good boys runners. And there's a pretty fun dual meet this week actually between Carrillo and Monty, or between Carrillo and Santa Rosa. So again, if you're a cross country fan, go check that one out as well. But yeah, same thing though. We have NBLs coming up here in a couple weeks, and then NCS championships in November, and then yeah, I think Montgomery has a pretty good chance to be one of the better teams in their division in state. I think they placed, man, where did they place last year? 7th? I think they placed top 10 last year or something like that for like one of the first times in 20 years or something like that. Yeah. So and they're looking even better this year. So yeah, should be a pretty fun finish to the season. But yeah, what else we got? I know the we're recording this October 17th, Tuesday. I think the NBL Girls Golf Championships are tonight. Yeah, I know
NBL Girls Tennis, yeah.
NBL Girls Tennis, yep. So we're coming here down the stretch. But yeah, it's been a pretty fun fall season so far, and it's only going to get better once the postseason gets here.
Oh yes. All right. So yeah, that'll wrap it up for us, guys. Appreciate you for watching or however you consume this content. It's all from us. We'll see you guys next week.
Yep. Thanks for watching, everyone.